What's up guys, it's me Jimmy. Today we're going to talk about how to set up your camera to shoot video. What settings do I use to get the looks that I get? And we'll talk a little bit about editing as well, okay? So let's roll that intro. What's up guys, it's me Jimmy. We're going to talk about how to film, how to get the good settings in the camera to give you the look that you are desiring, that you're going for. So on the 6D Mark II, the settings I am currently using, we're going to go through them one by one. My frames per second is set at 24. I do that because it looks very cinematic. It gives you that movie look. The motion blur is very similar to a movie. You can tell by the way my hands are moving. You can use 30 frames per second. It looks like a TV show. It's not really my style, although if it helps tell your story, then so be it. And then you can use 60 frames per second, which is great for slow-mo. I wouldn't really use it for just like regular video because it's showing too much motion, not enough blur. Like it just doesn't look quite as natural. So 24 frames per second for my regular shooting, and then 60 frames per second for slow-mo. Because you can slow down 60 frames per second to 40% and you get this really nice, great slow motion. Do I wish this could shoot 120 frames per second? Obviously, but I am quite happy with 60. It gives me some really, really nice slow-mo, and I will throw in a slow-mo clip now. So as you can see, it looks really good, and it looks really good on this 24 frames per second timeline. And so because I shoot in 24 frames per second, I also use a 1/50th of a second shutter speed because I try to follow the 180 degree rule. And what the 180 degree rule is you should set your shutter speed twice as fast as your frames per second. And so because I shoot 24, there's not a 48, so I set it to 1/50th. If I'm doing my slow-mo, 60 frames per second, I will set my shutter speed to 1/120th of a second, or 1/125th of a second, because I don't think it does 1/120th. But I go as close to double as I can, and that gives you the natural look, the natural motion blur when your head moves, when the chair moves, when your hands move. In my opinion, it looks the best. And so that's what I will typically use. Okay, moving on. So aperture, when I'm sitting down inside, obviously because I have my lighting set up and everything, I can set my aperture as low as I want to go. So right now it is on 2.8, which gives me the nice blurry background, which is what I like. It makes it nice and separated with my face in the background. From outside, because I do not have an ND filter yet, I will have to raise my aperture up, which gives you more stuff in focus, which is fine for certain situations. It will be nice to get an ND filter that I can stop down my camera and be able to use more shallow depth of field outside, hopefully sometime soon. I'm sure you'll see it when it happens. So that's where I have my aperture currently. I use auto white balance because the camera knows what it's doing most of the time. I've not really ran into any issues, and if I do, I can just correct it in post. My ISO, currently I'm using it on auto when I'm inside because I don't really need to mess with it. If for some reason a light were to go out or it gets cloudy outside with the sun coming in on my face, I don't want to have to like try to fix that in post. I just let it do its thing because this camera has incredible ISO performance. Yeah. So moving on to the next part, color profiles, picture profiles, whatever you want to call it. I typically will have been using Marvel Sign or Technicolor Cinestyle. Currently I am trying out neutral. Tell me what you think. Does it look better? The last one I kind of had it overexposed, and that was my fault. I apologize. I wasn't quite happy with it. This one I think is a lot better. So hopefully this will look really good once I edit it a little bit. So that's the picture profile I'm currently using. So I'm using my 50mm 1.8 lens. So the focusing is a little bit loud at times if you drastically move forward and out. And so what I am currently doing is running my Rode Video Micro on top because I didn't want to wear a lapel. And so I have it set to manual audio control, and I have the attenuator set by having the attenuator set, it almost gets rid of the focusing noise completely. It's fantastic. Now my 24-105 does not have focusing noise, which is great for when you're outside and you're vlogging, but in here I want that shallow depth of field that we were talking about. So that's why I will suffer through a little bit of focusing noise in order to have the best quality picture that I can get out of my camera right now. Because if you look at the DxO Mark for the 6D, which is not quite the same as the 6D Mark II, but it's the closest comparable one on there as of now, the 50 gives you a 17 megapixel image on a 20 megapixel camera as far as sharpness goes. So that's why I will use the 50 when I can, because it's going to give you a lot more than even the 24-105 will. And I want that sharpness. I want it to look good, right? That's the whole point of doing this, is to get as good a picture as you possibly can. And so I have it set up on a Manfrotto Action Compact tripod so that it will be nice and stable. I don't have to worry about trying to hold it. I can just let it do its thing. Let's see, what other settings? I'm using face tracking autofocus, which works fairly well. As you can see, I can move in and out. It may have to hunt for half a second, but it still looks pretty good. And so that's the autofocus I use. So let's switch over and talk about editing now. So, editing, what do I use? I use Premiere Pro. Premiere Pro is excellent. It gives you so many different features and options, professional features and options, and it allows you to use LUTs, and LUT stands for lookup table. And it lets you color grade your footage to the way that you want to, the way you think looks good. So what I do is, after I get the image as best as I can in my camera, pop it into my computer, throw it into Premiere Pro, and what I will do is I will do minor corrections to contrast, to sharpness, to white balance, to get everything exactly the way I want, get that set, and then what I do is create an adjustment layer that goes over top of the entire clip, throw my LUT on there that I would like to use, and Bob's your uncle. There it is. That's what I do. It looks good, and we will try a couple different LUTs right now, see what it looks like. Ready? And another. One more. And lastly, let's just go for one more. So, as you've seen in previous videos, I use the Peter McKinnon LUTs, and I use the Sydney LUTs, which is Matty Happoya's LUTs. And so those are the two sets I use. They look great. I mean, I could try to create my own, but why when there are already fantastic ones out there? Eventually I may, so I can get my own style, but as of right now, I'm happy using these. And the final result is this kind of video in my final project. That's how I get the best settings out of my camera, using my editing software and the settings in the camera. Let's throw in some more random slow-mo just because, and use different LUTs and different colors just so you can see what this camera is actually capable of. Let's do that now.
Freezing outside, a little bit high on the feeling. Can't seem to focus. In the corner of my best friend's sofa, you were getting by some rum and cola. Wasn't brave enough yet just to talk to you. Not a smooth talker under pressure. Sweaty palms ain't making it much better. Something about you feels so special. Pretty other from the minute that
And so I hope you think it looks as good as I do. I love this camera. I could not ask for anything better. Those are the settings I use. Obviously these settings will work on most Canon cameras. There are equivalents on other brands. The only other brand I really have any familiarity with is Nikon, and let's just be honest, if you have a Nikon, you're probably not shooting a whole lot of video. The autofocus is rough, unless you're just doing manual focus, which, more power to you. Yeah, not me. It's not my thing. But those are the camera settings I use. I hope that it helps you. I hope it makes you think about something and change something so you can up your creative game, that you will be happy with the end result. I hope this video helped. And don't forget to live that creative life. I will see you guys next time.